Lily Carter pressed her face against the cold viewing panel of her cell. The stars looked different from here, wherever here was in the vast emptiness of space. 6 months had passed since the research vessel she worked on was captured by the Zeta Consortium. 6 months of tests, questions, and being treated like a lab animal. The door to her cell slid open with a soft hiss. 2 Zeta guards entered. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the bright lights. Their 4 eyes, 2 large ones and 2 smaller ones above, stared at her without blinking. "The commander requests your presence," one of them said in that flat, mechanical way they spoke English. Lily didn't resist as they guided her down the curving hallway of the battlecruiser. Dominant will. Fighting back had proven useless during her first weeks of captivity. The Zeta were simply too strong, too fast. She had learned to save her energy for moments that mattered. They arrived at a large chamber she had never seen before. Unlike the sterile, white rooms where they usually conducted their experiments, this space was decorated with strange symbols and filled with about a dozen high-ranking Zeta officials. Commander Vexenar stood in the center. Taller than the others, with elaborate markings on his face indicating his superior rank, he turned all 4 eyes toward Lily as she entered. "Specimen 42H, he said, using the designation they had given her. "Your testing cycle is complete." Lily felt a flicker of hope. Were they releasing her? Sending her back to Earth? The hope died quickly when she saw the cruel set of Vexenar's mouth. "Your results are fascinating," he continued, bringing up a holographic display of data. "Your species shows remarkable physical resilience, but you specifically display emotional patterns we find excessive. Your empathy scores and emotional responses exceed your species norms by 42%. The other Zeta made a sound that Lily had come to recognize as laughter, a dry, rattling noise that made her skin crawl. "In Zeta society, such emotional instability would mark you as defective," Vexenar said. "Unsuitable for reproduction or meaningful contribution." Lily bit her tongue. As a xenobiologist, she understood enough about the Zeta to know that they prided themselves on emotional control. They saw feelings as primitive, messy things to be engineered out of advanced species. It was why they looked down on humans so much. "We have another specimen whose results are similarly problematic," Vexenar continued, gesturing to a guard. "Bring in 78M. The side door opened, and Lily gasped. A human man was led into the room. He was tall, with broad shoulders and dark hair cut short. Despite the obvious signs of captivity, the too thin frame, the healing bruise around his left eye, he carried himself with quiet dignity. His eyes, a deep green, scanned the room quickly before landing on Lily. Something flickered in them. Recognition, not of her specifically, but of another human. "This male has shown unusual psychological resilience," Vexenar explained, circling the man. "Despite optimal stress application, he refuses to exhibit proper fear responses. He adapts to our testing protocols faster than we can implement them." The man remained silent, his face carefully blank, but Lily could see the tension in his jaw. 78M, or Jack Bennett, as you primitives name yourselves, was captured during your species' failed attempt to defend the Mars colony, Vexenar said. "He has military training that makes him marginally more interesting than most of your kind?" Jack's eyes narrowed slightly at the mention of Mars, but he still said nothing. Vexenar made a gesture, and a holographic image appeared between them. "Recreation of an Earth apartment, small but comfortable. I have decided to implement a new testing protocol," Vexenar announced, his voice carrying the slightly higher pitch that Lily had learned indicated amusement. "You 2 specimens will be housed together in this simulated Earth environment. We wish to observe how 2 emotionally compromised humans interact in prolonged isolation." The other Zeta officials made that terrible laughing sound again. "Will they form a social bond? Will they conflict? Will they mate?" "The behavioral data will be valuable," said a female Zeta that Lily recognized as the ship's chief scientist. "And entertaining," added another. Lily felt her cheeks burn with humiliation and anger. They were turning her life into some kind of twisted reality show for their amusement. "Take them to Observation Habitat 3, Vexenar ordered. Ensure all monitoring systems are functioning at optimal levels. As the guards led them away, Lily risked a glance at Jack. His expression remained neutral, but he gave her a nearly imperceptible nod. That tiny gesture of solidarity made her throat tighten. The habitat was larger than Lily's cell, but still obviously artificial. It contained a small kitchen area, a living space with basic furniture, a bathroom, and a bedroom with two separate beds. The walls were blank white panels that occasionally flickered, revealing their true nature as screens. When the guards left, locking the door behind them, Lily and Jack stood in awkward silence for several moments. "I'm Lily Carter," she finally said. "I was a xenobiologist on the research vessel Horizon." Jack Bennett, Navy SEAL, Mars Defense Force. His voice was deep and rough, as if he hadn't used it much lately. "How long have you been here?" she asked. 9 months, give or take, lost track a while back. Lily walked to the small window, another screen showing a view of Earth that was probably recorded years ago. "They've been studying me for 6 months. Testing how I react to different stimuli, stress situations, that sort of thing." Jack nodded, his eyes scanning the room methodically. "They're watching us now, listening too." "I know," Lily sighed. "This is just another experiment to them. They think it's funny to put us together like we're animals in a zoo." Jack moved closer, lowering his voice. "Let them think that. Let them think they're in control." Something in his tone made Lily look at him more carefully. There was an intensity in his eyes that suggested he wasn't nearly as defeated as he appeared. "You have a plan?" she whispered. The corner of his mouth twitched in what might have been the ghost of a smile. "Not yet, but I will. For now we play along. We give them what they expect to see." "And what's that?" "Two frightened humans trying to cope with captivity." He glanced up at a spot near the ceiling where a small device was embedded. "Nothing more dangerous than that." Lily nodded slowly, understanding dawning. The Zeta had put them together as a cruel joke, expecting entertainment from their suffering. But they had made a critical mistake. They had given them something they had both been lacking: hope. That night, as Lily lay in her narrow bed listening to Jack's steady breathing from across the room, she realized something had changed. For the first time since her capture, she wasn't just surviving. She was beginning to think about fighting back. In the monitoring room, the Zeta observers noted the first day's interactions between Specimen 42H and 78M as predictably primitive, but surprisingly restrained, and settled in for what they expected would be months of entertaining observation. They had no idea that they had just created the beginning of their own downfall. 2 weeks passed in the observation habitat. Lily and Jack fell into a careful routine, always aware of the watching eyes. They ate the strange food the Zeta provided, exercised in the small space to maintain their strength, and talked in low voices about their lives before capture. Lily learned that Jack had been part of a special operations team defending the Mars colony when the Zeta attacked. His entire squad had been killed or captured. Jack discovered that Lily had been studying alien biology on a research vessel when it was seized by a Zeta battlecruiser. "I always wanted to understand alien life," Lily said one evening as they sat on opposite ends of the small couch. "Be careful what you wish for, I guess." Jack's mouth twitched in what Lily now recognized as his version of a smile. He rarely showed more emotion than that, and Lily wondered if it was his military training or if the Zeta had done something to him during his longer captivity. "The Zeta aren't the only aliens out there," Jack said. "Just the most aggressive we've met so far." When they thought the Zeta weren't paying close attention, they shared more important information. Jack had been gathering intelligence during his captivity, memorizing the ship's layout from his trips to different testing chambers. Lily shared her knowledge of Zeta biology and behavior patterns. "They have a blind spot," she whispered one night as they stood by the window, pretending to look at the false Earth view. "Their smaller secondary eyes can't process movement well if it's very slow." Jack nodded slightly. "Useful." On the 18th day, the Zeta changed the game. The lights in the habitat began to flash randomly, making it hard to sleep. The temperature would suddenly drop, then rise again hours later. The food became less palatable. "They're increasing the stress," Lily said, shivering under a thin blanket as the room temperature fell again. "Testing our breaking points." Jack moved from his bed and sat on the edge of hers. "They want us to fight. To turn on each other." "We won't give them what they want," Lily said firmly, though her teeth chattered from the cold. Jack hesitated, then moved closer, sharing his body warmth. "No, we won't." The next morning, Commander Vexenar's voice came through hidden speakers. "Your vital signs indicate stress, but not the expected behavioral response. Fascinating." Jack stared at the ceiling where the voice came from. "Glad we could entertain you." "The parameters will be adjusted," Vexenar continued. "We wish to observe human mating behavior. Your habitat will be modified to encourage this outcome." Lily felt her face grow hot with anger and embarrassment. "We're not animals in a breeding program." There was that dry, rattling sound of Zeta. Laughter. "Your species' emotional attachment to reproduction is another primitive trait. Data suggests humans perform better with certain environmental stimuli." The lights dimmed to a soft glow. Music began to play, earth music, slow and romantic. The temperature rose to a comfortable level. The scent of flowers filled the air. "This is ridiculous," Lily muttered. Jack's face remained impassive, but his eyes showed a flash of anger. "They're underestimating us, that's good." Later that night, as the romantic conditions continued, Jack moved close to Lily and whispered, directly in her ear, so quietly she barely heard him. "I found a weakness in their monitoring system. When they cycle the environmental controls, there's a 3-second delay in the audio feed." Lily's heart raced, but she kept her face neutral. "How does that help us?" "It gives us moments to speak freely." "I've been counting the cycles. They happen every 4 hours. Over the next few days, they developed a system. When the slight buzz of the environmental controls starting up sounded, they would quickly exchange information before the audio monitoring resumed. During one of these brief windows, Jack revealed more. "I've been studying their technology when they take me for tests. I think I can disable the door locks if I can get to the control panel. Even if we get out of this room, we're still on a massive ship," Lily pointed out during their next safe moment. "The ship will pass near Europa next month," Jack whispered. "There's a human outpost there. If we can reach an escape pod... It seemed impossible, but having even the whisper of a plan gave Lily strength. As the days passed and the Zeta continued their psychological pressure, Lily and Jack grew closer, not just as allies but as friends. They shared stories of their homes, their families, their dreams before the war with the Zeta began. One night, after a particularly difficult day of Zeta tests that had left Lily exhausted and Jack with a new bruise on his arm, they sat side by side on Lily's bed. "Why do you think they paired us specifically?" Lily asked quietly. Jack considered this. "You're a scientist who understands them. I'm a soldier who's resisted them. Together we might be dangerous." Or they really did think. "It would be funny to watch us break down," Lily said. "Either way, they made a mistake," Jack replied. The environmental controls hummed, signaling their brief window of private conversation. Jack leaned close. "When we get back to Earth, what's the first thing you'll do?" Lily smiled at the thought. "Visit my parents' farm in Ohio, walk in real grass, eat a real apple." She looked at him. "You?" "Swim in the ocean," he said, surprising her with this personal detail. "I grew up near the Pacific, missed the salt water." The hum stopped, and they fell silent again, but something had shifted between them. 2 months into their shared captivity, the Zeta seemed to lose interest in their romantic experiment and tried new tactics. They reduced the food supply, hoping hunger would create conflict. Instead, Jack and Lily carefully divided every meal with precise fairness. The Zeta introduced items that could be used as weapons: a knife in the kitchen, a heavy tool left mysteriously on the floor. Jack and Lily simply placed these items on a shelf untouched. "They don't understand humans at all," Lily said one evening as they sat closer than they used to, shoulders touching. "That's their weakness," Jack replied. His hand found hers in the dim light, and their fingers intertwined. That night, when the cold cycle began again, they didn't retreat to separate beds. They lay together, sharing warmth and whispered plans for escape. And when Jack kissed her, it wasn't for the watching Zeta, it was despite them. In the monitoring room, the Zeta observers noted the developing pair bond with clinical interest, completely missing the growing determination in the human's eyes. They recorded the physical intimacy as a predictable biological response to stress and isolation, never recognizing it as an act of rebellion, choosing connection when their captors expected conflict. Commander Vexenar marked the experiment as proceeding with unexpected variables in his log. He had no idea that his cruel joke was transforming into something that would eventually threaten his entire species. 3 months into their shared captivity, Lily woke up feeling strange. For several days, she had been experiencing waves of nausea in the mornings. At first, she blamed the Zeta food, which never quite agreed with human digestion. But as she sat on the edge of the bed with her head in her hands, a different possibility occurred to her. Jack noticed her distress immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice low as he sat beside her. Lily waited for the familiar hum of the environmental controls before whispering, "I think I might be pregnant." Jack's normally controlled expression broke into genuine surprise. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm late, and I feel sick every morning." The hum stopped, and they fell silent again. Later that day, during another brief window of privacy, Jack said, "If you are, it changes everything. We need to move up our timeline." Lily nodded. The thought of bringing a child into this situation, the Zeta discovering her pregnancy and turning their baby into another experiment, was terrifying. "The ship will pass near Europa in 2 weeks," Jack continued when the controls cycled again. "I've almost figured out how to bypass the door lock, but we need a distraction." Lily thought about what she knew of Zeta biology. There's something about their sleep cycle. They synchronize ship-wide. Once every 30 days, they all enter a deep sleep state for about 2 hours. They leave minimal security active. When is the next one? In 10 days, but how do we know when exactly? We don't have access to the ship's schedule. Jack's eyes narrowed in thought. The guards who take me for testing. Their conversation patterns change when they're pre-sleep, more irritable, less focused. I'll track it. Over the next week, Jack carefully observed the guards during his testing sessions, while Lily created a makeshift calendar to track ship movements based on subtle changes in the artificial gravity. During one of their private moments, Lily confessed her fears. "What if I'm wrong about being pregnant? What if we risk everything for nothing?" Jack took her hand. "We're escaping either way, but now we have more reason to succeed." On the 8th day, Jack returned from a testing session with a small metal object hidden in his mouth. When they were alone, he showed it to Lily during their brief window of privacy. "Part of a medical tool. I can use it to access the door panel." 2 days later, Jack confirmed it. The guards were showing pre-sleep behavior. That night, as they lay in bed pretending to sleep, Jack whispered, "Tomorrow night." During the middle shift change, "Be ready." The next day was the longest of Lily's life. They went through their normal routine, careful not to show any change in behavior that might alert the Zeta. When the lights dimmed for night cycle, they prepared. Jack had created a small tool from the stolen metal, pieces and parts from their living quarters that wouldn't be immediately missed. Lily had prepared a mixture from their food supplies and cleaning materials, something she hoped would temporarily blind any Zeta they encountered, affecting their sensitive eyes. They waited until the ship grew quieter. Jack had explained that they could tell when the sleep cycle began because the slight vibration of the ship's engines would change tone. "Now," Jack said when the change came. He moved quickly to the door panel, using his makeshift tool to pry it open. Inside was a complex array of circuitry. Jack worked carefully, applying knowledge gained from months of observation. "How did you learn to do this?" Lily asked, keeping watch. "Special Forces training included alien tech basics. Plus, I've been watching every time they open doors." The panel gave a soft click, and the door slid open an inch. Jack looked at Lily. "Ready?" She nodded, clutching her makeshift chemical weapon. They slipped into the corridor, which was dimly lit for the sleep cycle. Jack led the way, moving with the silent precision of his military training. Lily followed closely, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure it would wake the sleeping aliens. They encountered their first guard at a junction. The Zeta was alert but sluggish, clearly affected by the pre-sleep phase. Before he could react, Lily sprayed her mixture directly at his 4 eyes. The guard made a strangled sound and clawed at his face. Jack moved quickly, striking at a vulnerable point on the Zeta's neck that Lily had identified from her xenobiological knowledge. "This way," Jack whispered, guiding her down a service corridor. "The emergency vessels are 2 levels down." They reached a maintenance shaft that Jack had memorized from his trips to the testing chambers. As they climbed down, an alarm began to sound. "They've discovered we're gone," Lily said, trying to move faster despite her fear. "Almost there," Jack encouraged. "The shuttle bay is just ahead." They emerged into a large chamber filled with small vessels, emergency escape pods, and short-range shuttles. Jack quickly assessed their options and pointed to a shuttle near the exit doors. "That one. It's fueled and programmed for evacuation protocols." As they ran toward it, a voice rang out. "Stop, specimens." 2 guards had entered the bay, weapons drawn. Jack pushed Lily behind him. "Get to the shuttle. Start the launch sequence." "I'm not leaving you," she protested. 3 buttons on the right panel. Green, blue, green, go!" Lily ran for the shuttle, while Jack engaged the guards. She reached the small vessel and hit the entry panel. The door slid open, revealing a cramped interior with 4 seats and a simple control panel. She found the buttons Jack had described and pressed them in sequence. The shuttle hummed to life. Through the viewport, she saw Jack fighting the 2 Zeta guards. Despite their size advantage, they were sluggish from the sleep cycle, and Jack's combat training was evident in his precise strikes. 1 guard went down. Jack dodged a blow from the second and delivered a powerful kick to the alien's midsection. The Zeta stumbled back, and Jack turned to run toward the shuttle. More guards appeared at the entrance to the bay. 1 raised a weapon. "Jack!" Lily screamed. He dove into the shuttle just as energy bolts hit the ground where he had been standing. The door closed automatically as part of the launch sequence. Jack scrambled to the pilot's seat and took control. "Hold on," he said, activating the launch thrusters. The shuttle shot forward, breaking through the magnetic containment field and out into space. Immediately, alarms blared as the dominant will recognized the unauthorized launch. "They'll send fighters after us," Jack said, hands flying over the controls. "We need to reach Europa's defense perimeter." Lily strapped herself in. "How long?" 20 minutes if we push the engines." "They'll be on us in 10. The shuttle shuddered as Jack pushed it beyond its designed capacity. Behind them, the massive Zeta battlecruiser grew smaller, but Lily could see small craft launching in pursuit. "We need to change our signature," Jack said. "They're tracking us by the shuttle's beacon." Lily looked at the control panel. "I studied their communication protocols. Maybe I can—" She began working on a secondary panel, trying to reprogram the shuttle's identification signal. The first shots from the pursuing craft flashed past them. Jack took evasive action, the small shuttle bucking wildly. "Got it!" Lily exclaimed as she managed to change their signal. "We now read as debris from a previous battle." The pursuing craft hesitated, their targeting systems confused by the changed signal. It bought them precious minutes as Europa grew larger in their viewport. "We're being hailed," Jack said as they approached the human outpost. "Europa Defense. Command wants identification." Lily leaned toward the communication panel. "This is Dr. Lily Carter and Lieutenant Jack Bennett. We've escaped Zeta captivity. Request emergency landing and protection." There was a pause, then a human voice responded. "Confirmed, Dr. Carter. Defensive grid activating now. You are cleared for emergency Dock 3, medical team standing by." As they approached the outpost, energy weapons fired from Europa's defense platforms, creating a barrier between them and the pursuing Zeta craft. The shuttle shook violently as Jack guided it toward the indicated landing bay. "We made it," Lily breathed, hardly believing it. Jack reached over and took her hand, squeezing it gently. First step, he said. Now we need to get you to a doctor. The shuttle touched down in the docking bay. As the door opened, they were met by armed guards and medical personnel. For the first time in months, they saw human faces. As they were escorted to the medical center, Lily held tightly to Jack's hand. They had escaped one danger, but they both knew their journey was far from over. Especially if Lily's suspicion about her pregnancy was correct, and what it might mean given the Zeta experiments they had both endured. The medical bay at Europa Outpost was small but clean. Lily sat on an examination table while a doctor named Dr. Ellen Wright ran a scanner over her body. Jack stood nearby, his posture tense despite their escape. Old habits from captivity died hard. Well, Dr. Wright said, looking at her screen, you are definitely pregnant, Dr. Carter, about 12 weeks along. Lily exhaled slowly. Part of her had still hoped she was wrong. Is the baby okay? Dr. Wright frowned slightly at her scanner. The fetus appears healthy, but there are some unusual readings. I'd like to run more tests. Unusual how? Jack asked. Moving closer to Lily, the development is accelerated. The fetus shows growth patterns consistent with a 16-week pregnancy, not 12, Dr. Wright adjusted her scanner. And there are some genetic markers I haven't seen before. Fear gripped Lily's heart. The Zeta, they must have done something to us during their experiments. Dr. Wright nodded grimly. We should contact Earth immediately. You'll both need to be transported to a more advanced medical facility. Within hours, Lily and Jack were on a military transport heading to Earth. The Europa Defense Command had been eager to get them off the outpost, fearing Zeta retaliation for harboring escaped prisoners. As their ship left Europa's orbit, Lily watched Jupiter grow smaller through the viewport. I never thought I'd see Earth again, she said quietly. Jack sat beside her, their shoulders touching. I'm sorry about the baby, about what they might have done. Lily placed a hand on her still flat stomach. Don't be sorry. Whatever happens. This baby is ours, not theirs. We'll face it together. Jack covered her hand with his. Together, he agreed. The trip to Earth took 4 days. Upon arrival, they were immediately taken to a secure medical facility in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. The compound was surrounded by military personnel and hidden from public view. Dr. Sam Rivera, the lead physician, explained the situation as they settled into their quarters. Your escape and pregnancy have been classified at the highest levels. The United Earth government is very interested in understanding what the Zeta did to you both. We're not going to be lab rats again, Jack said firmly. No, of course not, Dr. Rivera assured them. You're here for your protection and for medical care. But we do need to understand what we're dealing with. Over the next week, Lily and Jack underwent extensive testing. Blood samples, genetic analysis, brain scans. The process was exhausting, but done with a gentleness the Zeta had never shown. On the 8th day, Dr. Rivera called them to a conference room where several scientists and military officials waited. We have some preliminary findings, he said, bringing up a holographic display of DNA sequences. The Zeta didn't just observe you, they modified you. Lily felt Jack stiffen beside her. Modified how? She asked. Your genetic structures show evidence of activation in previously dormant sections of human DNA, explained a geneticist named Dr. Patel. These sections have always been present in humans, but they're typically inactive. The Zeta found a way to switch them on. Why would they do that? Jack asked. A military official named General Ramirez spoke up. Based on recovered Zeta communications, we believe it was accidental. Their monitoring devices emitted a specific type of radiation that catalyzed these changes. The baby? Lily pressed, her hand protectively on her stomach. Dr. Rivera's expression softened. Your child is carrying these activated genes from both of you. Combined, they're expressing in ways we've never seen before. The fetus shows markers for enhanced cognitive function, cellular regeneration, and other capabilities that were theoretical in humans until now. Lily tried to process this information. So our baby is ... what? Some kind of advanced human? Potentially, Dr. Patel said. The child represents what humans might naturally evolve into over thousands of years, Jack frowned. The Zeta couldn't have wanted this. They look down on humans as primitive. Which is why we believe it was accidental, General Ramirez said. Their experiment backfired spectacularly. In the following weeks, Lily began experiencing strange effects herself. Her healing accelerated, a small cut vanished within hours. She found she could sense Jack's presence even when he was in another room. Sometimes she knew what he was thinking before he spoke. It's the pregnancy, Dr. Rivera explained. The fetal cells are circulating in your bloodstream, temporarily, giving you some of the enhanced capabilities. We believe these effects will diminish after birth. Jack experienced no obvious physical changes, but tests showed his neural patterns were altering, adapting to match Lily's when they were close to each other. It's some kind of quantum entanglement at the cellular level, Dr. Patel tried to explain. Your nervous systems are synchronizing. It's fascinating. 4 months after their escape, Lily's pregnancy was visibly advanced. Her stomach was rounded, and the baby, a girl, they had learned to move constantly. Scans showed brain development far beyond normal human parameters. One night as they lay in bed in their quarters, Lily gasped and grabbed Jack's hand, placing it on her belly. "Do you feel that?" she whispered. Jack's eyes widened. It wasn't just the baby's kick he felt, but a wave of emotion, curiosity, contentment, recognition. "Is she communicating with us?" he asked in awe. Lily nodded, tears in her eyes. "I think she's been trying for weeks. I thought I was imagining it." The next day, they shared this development with the medical team. The scientists were amazed but cautious. "This level of fetal consciousness is unprecedented," Dr. Rivera said. "We need to proceed carefully." General Ramirez had other concerns. Intelligence reports indicate increased Zeta activity near Earth. They've sent a diplomatic envoy, supposedly for prisoner exchange negotiations. "But we believe they've heard rumors about your escape and pregnancy." "They can't have her," Lily said fiercely, protective instincts flaring. "No one's suggesting that," Dr. Rivera assured her. "But the government is considering using this situation to our advantage." Jack's expression darkened. "You want to use our baby as leverage against the Zeta?" "Not exactly," General Ramirez said. "We want to show them that humans are not to be underestimated, that their experiments on you have only made us stronger." That night, Lily woke from a strange dream. In it, she had seen the Zeta homeworld, a place she had never been. She had understood their language, their history, their weaknesses. "Jack," she whispered, shaking him awake, "I think our daughter is showing me things. Things about the Zeta that I couldn't possibly know." Jack sat up, fully alert. "What things?" "Their ship designs, their communication protocols, their planetary defense systems." Lily placed both hands on her belly. "It's like she's learning from my memories of captivity, but understanding them in ways I never could." Jack placed his hand beside hers. "If she can do this from the womb, imagine what she'd be capable of when she's born." Lily finished. The next morning, they requested a meeting with General Ramirez. They had a proposal of their own, not to hide from the Zeta, but to confront them directly, to show them exactly what their cruel joke had created, humanity's next evolutionary step. As Lily outlined their plan, she felt a surge of approval from the life growing inside her. The baby, their daughter, was already part of this fight, and together they would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. 6 months after their escape from the dominant will, Lily stood in front of a mirror in her quarters at the Colorado facility. Her pregnancy was now clearly visible, her belly rounded and firm. She wore a simple blue dress provided by the facility staff, designed to accommodate her changing body while still looking professional. Today was the day the Zeta diplomatic envoy would arrive for negotiations with Earth leaders. Against the advice of many officials, Lily and Jack had insisted on being present. Jack entered the room, dressed in a freshly pressed military uniform that highlighted his return to duty status. "Are you ready?" he asked gently. Lily nodded, placing a protective hand on her stomach. "She's ready too." I can feel her excitement. The connection with their unborn daughter had grown stronger each day. The baby seemed to absorb knowledge at an incredible rate, processing information from both parents and developing her own awareness of the world around her. "Remember the plan?" Jack said, taking Lily's hand. "We stay in the background until the right moment. Let the diplomats do their work first." A military escort led them to a secure underground conference center beneath the Rocky Mountain facility. The room was designed with both human and Exeta comfort in mind, the temperature slightly cooler than humans preferred. The lighting dimmer? A large oval table dominated the center, with Earth officials already taking their positions on one side. General Ramirez approached them. "The Zeta ship has entered orbit. Their shuttle will land in 20 minutes. Are you sure about this?" "Absolutely," Lily said with a confidence that surprised even her. "Trust me, General, this is how it needs to happen." They took their seats in a recessed area behind the main Earth delegation. From here, they could observe without being immediately noticed by the Zeta representatives. Right on schedule, the doors opened. 6 Zeta entered the room, led by a familiar figure, Overseer Vexenar, promoted from his previous rank of commander. He moved with the same arrogant stride Lily remembered from captivity, his 4 eyes scanning the room with cold calculation. "Greetings, Earth representatives," Vexenar said, his translator conveying his words in slightly mechanical English. "The Zeta Consortium appreciates this opportunity for diplomatic exchange." Earth's lead negotiator, Ambassador Chun, began with formal welcomes. The initial discussions focused on prisoner exchanges and ceasefire zones. Lily listened carefully, noting how Vexenar seemed distracted, his smaller secondary eyes constantly scanning the room as if searching for something. "There is another matter we wish to discuss," Vexenar finally said after an hour of negotiations. "We have reports that 2 research subjects escaped from one of our vessels. These specimens are of scientific interest to the consortium." Ambassador Chun feigned confusion. "I'm not familiar with any such individuals. Perhaps you could provide more details?" Vexenar's mouth tightened in what Lily recognized as frustration. "A male and female human. They were part of an important behavioral study. Their return would be considered a significant diplomatic gesture." Lily felt Jack tense beside her. She reached out and squeezed his hand, then nodded slightly. It was time. They stood together and stepped forward into the main conference area. The reaction among the Zeta delegation was immediate. 2 guards reached for weapons before being restrained by their diplomatic protocols. Vexenar's 4 eyes widened in what might have been shock. "Specimen 42H, he said, his voice losing its diplomatic polish. "And 78M. "My name is Dr. Lily Carter," she corrected him firmly. "And this is Lieutenant Jack Bennett. We are not specimens or research subjects, we are human beings." Vexenar regained his composure quickly. "Your escape caused significant damage to consortium property. Your return is non-negotiable." Jack stepped slightly forward, his military bearing evident. "We're not here to be reclaimed, Overseer. We're here to show you the consequences of your actions." Vexenar's eyes narrowed, then suddenly fixed on Lily's pregnant belly. The Zeta diplomat went completely still. "Impossible," he whispered. One of the Zeta scientists in the delegation pulled out a scanning device, pointing it toward Lily despite protests from the Earth security team. The scientist looked at the readings, then whispered urgently to Vexenar. In their native language. To everyone's surprise, Lily responded in perfect Zeta speech. "Yes, your readings are correct. The child carries activated sequences from both genetic contributors." The entire Zeta delegation stared at her in shock. No human had ever been able to speak their complex language before. "How did you?" Vexenar began. "Your cruel joke had unintended consequences," Lily said, switching back to English for the benefit of the Earth delegation. "The monitoring devices in our habitat emitted radiation that activated dormant sections of human DNA. You accidentally accelerated human evolution by centuries." The Zeta scientist approached cautiously, fascination overcoming fear. "The fetal development patterns are extraordinary. The neural activity suggests consciousness far beyond normal human parameters. She is aware, Jack confirmed. She communicates. With us, she learns. And through her connection with Lily, she has access to everything the Zeta ever taught or showed us. Vexenar's face showed an emotion Lily had never seen in a Zeta before: fear. This was not the intended outcome of our research. No, Lily agreed. You thought it would be amusing to watch two humans suffer in captivity. You never expected us to form a bond that would create something beyond your understanding. She stepped closer to the Zeta delegation, one hand protectively on her belly. You gave me to Jack as a joke, she said, echoing the words she had practiced. But what's growing inside me is humanity's future and your greatest mistake. Through her connection with the unborn child, Lily suddenly saw flashes of Zeta tactical dataship positions, weapon capabilities, communication protocols, knowledge. The baby had somehow accessed through the genetic memory Lily carried from her time in captivity. Your fleet has taken position behind Jupiter's moon Callisto, Lily said calmly. You plan to use this diplomatic mission as cover for a surprise. Attack if negotiations failed. The Earth officials looked alarmed, but General Ramirez nodded slightly. Their intelligence had suspected as much but couldn't confirm it. Vexenar stepped back. How could you possibly know this? The same way I know about the structural weakness in your flagship's propulsion system. The same way I know your species cannot process visual information in the ultraviolet spectrum. Lily smiled slightly. Our daughter shows me. The Zeta diplomats conferred hurriedly in their own language, clearly unsettled by this development. Finally, Vexenar turned back to the Earth delegation. We request a brief recess to consult with our leadership. When the Zeta left the room, Ambassador Chun turned to Lily and Jack. That was not part of the diplomatic plan. But it worked, General Ramirez pointed out. They're scared. Less than an hour later, the Zeta returned. Vexenar's demeanor had changed completely. The arrogance was gone, replaced by caution. The consortium wishes to propose an immediate cessation of hostilities against Earth and its colonies, he announced. We will withdraw our military presence from your solar system within 72 hours. Ambassador Shane maintained her diplomatic composure, though her surprise was evident. That is a significant shift in your position, Overseer. New information requires new approaches, Vexenar said, his eyes briefly flicking toward Lily. The consortium recognizes that further conflict would be unproductive. As the diplomats worked out the details of the peace agreement, Lily and Jack stepped back, their mission accomplished. They're running scared, Jack whispered. Lily nodded. They should be. They never understood what humans are capable of, especially when we work together. 2 weeks later, Lily gave birth to a healthy baby girl they named Ellie. She had Jack's green eyes and Lily's dark hair, and from her first moments of life, she showed signs of the extraordinary awareness they had sensed before her birth. As Lily held her daughter in the recovery room, Jack by her side, a message arrived from General Ramirez. The Zeta fleet had completely withdrawn from the solar system. Furthermore, intercepted communications indicated the consortium had classified Earth as a non-intervention zone, with humans designated as an unpredictably dangerous species. They came to study us, Jack said, gently touching his daughter's tiny hand. Instead, they made us stronger. Lily smiled as Ellie gripped her father's finger with surprising strength. Their mistake, she said softly. Our future. From her crib, little Ellie gazed up at her parents with eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom alongside newborn innocence. The child born of a cruel alien joke would grow to change humanity's place in the galaxy forever.